Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I had to remind myself, like, wait, what is this show? Welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, you might notice I have a co-host in the room with me. That's my wife right there. This is a brand new Geekscape podcast. And this is your first Geekscape. Well, I usually don't have a co-host right here in the room with me. But this is a wedding special. Heidi and I got married this past weekend. Usually I'm talking movies, video games, comic books, pop culture with guests over the internet, celebrity guests, creators, friends, fans, all of that stuff. But this episode's special because Heidi and I are just basically going to be talking about the geek wedding that we had this past weekend. Anything else? I mean, we might be talking some Game of Thrones and She-Hulk and some of the stuff we're consuming. I know you're watching shows like Bad Sisters.
Yeah.
And The Crown and things like that I don't watch. So maybe you can drop some knowledge on the Geekscape, like what you're watching.
If you want me to.
I totally want you to. This is a Geekscape, and we can't just be talking about the wedding. Like, no talking about the wedding.
I'm sure people are sick of.
They're sick of it. So we're going to give you a little bit of wedding talk.
Photos everywhere.
Yeah, it's out of control. We're going to give you a little bit of wedding talk, and then we're going to give you a lot of Heidi Cox-London talk, as she is now named.
Professionally, I'm still Heidi Cox.
We're going to discuss that. And while we do, let me run the intro to the show. We'll be right back. We didn't discuss this. Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to this brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm sitting here with my co-host, Miss Heidi Cox-London. And again, if this is your first Geekscape, well, we're going to be talking specifically a little bit about our wedding that happened this past weekend. It was pretty nerdy, though. It was kind of Rivendell themed because this woman had a vision and she pulled it off with aplomb. But I want to also remind you that if you're like, well, let me just get more familiar with this Geekscape thing. We just recorded a really good She-Hulk season 1 recap that's on the feed. There's a Werewolf by Night on the feed. I think there's a interview with Scott Adkins. There's there's tons of interviews and tons of news and reviews and normal Geekscape episodes going back in the feed. So go subscribe to that, share it with your friends, and all that. If you love it, keep sharing it. I just submitted a bunch of LA Comic-Con panels today from the whole Geekscape team. So we're going to be at LA Comic-Con with some panels and all that. So there's tons of stuff to do, but I thought it would be fun to have Heidi on a Geekscape so we can, I don't know, I don't even know where to start this, sweetie. Maybe in the comments if you're watching live on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Let's see. Matt says right here, it's the Podfather and the Podmother of the Geekscape network. Did you know that you were inheriting a Geekscape?
I'm not really a podcaster. Heidi giving some midsummer vibes. I mean, you saw my crown at the wedding, Matt. Right? It was not midsummer, but Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah, Matt's kind of just a horror fan. Anything culturally outside of horror, I think it's just it's Muppets or horror, and
I love Muppet.
He's like Shakespeare. What is that? I'm kidding. Matt is very well informed. And then Derek says Matt can actually help you become a horror fan if you need to.
Or does he mean Podfather? Does he mean horror?
Oh, he can help you become a podcaster, Matt.
Oh,
yeah, Matt runs the Geekscape Podcast Network. So Geekscape is, yeah. Matt says, okay. I know Shakespeare London. He doesn't even know commas, so let's not trust him on that one. All right, Geekscape is, here we are. Heidi and Jonathan got married. I described our wedding as sort of like Rivendell themed. I think that was your goal from the beginning.
That's where I started.
You started planning the wedding in like January?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I think most brides to be, like even before they're ever a bride, if that's the direction they want to go in their life, that is they usually have started planning in their mind when they're little, I think. I don't want to speak for all women because maybe not, but maybe there's grooms out there that do the same thing. But I just remember you saying Ewok Village and I said Rivendell, and I love fairies. And so it was sort of like this enchanted forest thing with a little bit of superhero stuff sprinkled in. It was just very much like us, I think.
Well, the first thing we had to do was find a location that had kind of a wooded theme. I'd seen friends' weddings that taken place in the woods, but those always felt like destination weddings. I saw some amazing ones, like in Yosemite. That's where Neil and Danila, our friends, got married, and I helped them see that wedding back in 2019. But
really, you went all the way to Yosemite for that?
Yeah, we camped out. It was like the southern part of the range.
We went there later. Remember,
we
went there in 2020.
But Jesse and I camped out at the wedding. Like we all had camping equipment and stuff like that. And don't give me a microphone at the wedding, but they did, and it was actually fun. But
you were the MC, weren't you?
Yeah, but
you had supposed to be.
We still had to drive 3 hours, so we were like, okay, we can't have people driving 3 hours. We had to find like woods here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I looked at Descanso Gardens, but like that's more of a, I don't know, it's not really a public park. But then, of course, I had two maids of honor, as I like to call Fae of honor, because it was all fairy. They were all fairies, right? So I had Fae of honor, brides Fae, which I think I made up because I've looked it up and I don't think anyone else has used it. But please spread the word, brides Fae. And I called my flower girls flower fairies. But anyway, so one of my Fae of honor, I had two of them. Megan Green, who started Wee Darlings with me, and then Stephanie Pressman, who he's trying to push me closer to the microphone.
I'm not trying to push you close to the microphone. I'm trying to make you.
How close do you want?
I'm not correcting that audio later. I'm trying to get you to sit up
right
straight.
Right here.
You don't need to go to the mic. Look how I'm doing it. You don't have to go that close to the mic. I'm trying to get you to sit up straight so it doesn't look like I married freaking basket case or something over here.
That's mean.
It's like, oh, this is my Quado. Heidi, I'm kidding, sweetie.
That's so mean.
Yeah, just be like that. That's it.
That's how
Look, I lesson 1 of podcasting. Now you're ready for Matt to give you a show.
I feel like I was already doing this, but anyway, Stephanie Pressman, who also worked with me on Stalking LeVar, she came in as a producer and helped a lot with it, and just one of my best friends, just like Megan. And she just said, well, there's this place called Orcutt Ranch that our friends John and Colby got married at. Check it out. She sends me the website, and the LA Parks, it's an LA Parks property, and the LA Parks website has like one tiny picture of the sundial and nothing else there. So I had to like go look at Colby's wedding pictures, and I was like, this looks kind of perfect. And there's this big clearing with a tree, and you're surrounded by all this green and a beautiful path. And then there's this lovely area outside of a historic home that was built in the 20s where you can have your reception. But there's like, you can see
if you're watching this, you can see a picture up, but there's Matt Kelly right there. It's one of the groomsmen, and we're sitting in front of a bunch of trees. So I think trees, we got the trees. Check.
We're missing, you can see a wisp of my niece's dress there on the left. And Fawn, I realized later, I had one bridesman, brides Fae, and he didn't know to wear his boutonniere, and no one told
we didn't tell him. We were partying in the groom suite. We didn't.
Yeah,
I was like, we have like this extra boutonniere. I wonder whose it is.
That he might need it. I don't know. And I, of course, was too busy getting ready and being hidden, so I didn't know to check.
I did not see Heidi in her dress until she was walking down the aisle towards me. That was something that was like important.
That was your choice. Yeah.
Totally my choice. Yeah. But I think it made it, I don't know. I think, and I have the audio. I don't know if I can run the audio or not, but you can hear an audible gulp when I first see Heidi.
You can't.
I think so.
No, you can't.
Really? When I first see you, first off, my best man Noam, who's next to me, said that there was an audible gulp. The people in the front row said there was an audible gulp. When I first saw Heidi walking towards me, I was like, oh, this is real. This is happening. I'm marrying that beautiful woman. And we pulled it off. I think that the wedding was really nice. It had an elven quality to it.
Yeah, I mean, I give all the brides Fae little ear cuffs too, and like the Fae of Honor had like both of them had these ones that sort of made your ears look like elven ears, and I don't know, just sort of sprinkled with. We used like all kinds of We used Neverending Story stuff, like music. Our guest book looked like the book from Neverending Story, which remember the day we figured out that's what we wanted?
We were brainstorming it, and it just snapped, and I said,
Tim,
"This
he
is the
was
most
like,
obvious thing ever." I
"How did-
bet on Etsy somebody makes Neverending Story replica books.
And yep, they do.
Yeah.
A nice man, and I think he was in Denmark. I think.
Yeah.
I'll double check.
I had to order that one pretty early. Matt Kelly, he was the one who was not having an out of body. Maybe he was having an out of body experience. I was definitely having an out of body experience during the wedding.
Me too.
As soon as I saw you, I was like floating way above the
Aw.
clouds. He says Jonathan's face when Heidi showed up got me choked up for sure. I didn't hear a gulp, but he definitely saw it. You looked beautiful. It was incredible. And
thank you.
Matt says about the bridesmaid things, why didn't you make us groom minotaurs?
I asked him.
He says I would have worn a cow head.
He didn't want to do any of the weird names for you all.
Fantasy. You could have been centaurs, not minotaurs. Because if I did minotaurs, you would have looked like that creature from Demon Wind. And I don't think we could have any more Demon Wind references on the Geekscape network. That's a horror movie, Heidi, that if I really want to test the limits of our marriage, I'm going to make you watch Demon Wind. It's
a horror movie.
Movie itself is a loose term when you think about this.
I don't really like horror movies, though. You know that.
It's more horrible than horror, but it definitely would be in a horror category. The $2 late fee boys who listen to their podcast here on the network. We weren't there, but we definitely heard the gulp. Congratulations. That's Dustin.
We wish you could have been there. We wish that we had the room to invite 1,000 people, right? I mean, that would have been crazy, though. My God. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Brett Davis says this is Brett Kotler. He says, or Cotter. He says this is straight out of Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
How?
I don't know. Like they broke up at the beginning.
Please explain.
Yeah, you got to explain that one, pal.
I don't know what you mean.
Doogie Greg, who's been on the Xbox Game Passenger show here on the podcast network, says congratulations on the wedding, folks. And Jim Paganelli says Ewok Village in Rivendell is a very nerdy and romantic convergence. I love that about this episode.
It was very beautiful.
That just wasn't where it ended, though. I mean, the nerdy stuff just kept going beyond what like your party was wearing. My party was actually pretty normal. And then when it came to my,
but they looked dapper.
Yeah, when it came, we got a pretty nerdy. I think he's nerdy. He's definitely embraces the nerd. We had a pretty nerdy officiant, which was pretty impressive. Our friend Chris White last night. We went to dinner with our friends Chris and Emily White, and Chris was like, "I was a big fan of your officiant." I show up and he's there officiating the wedding. I had no idea who was your officiant. I've been listening to him forever. That's John Fugelsang, who's been a friend of yours for a long time.
15 years. He's one of the first friends I made in LA. And he and his wife were just really wonderful to me when I first got here. And I've stayed in touch ever since. And they moved off to New York. And I've missed them living here. But I think they love that city the most. They do have a place here too. So when they come into town, I always try to see them. It's been a while. I haven't seen his wife or his son. Actually, his son I've never met. But I've seen him many times. Like I've seen John many times when he comes into town. But I haven't been able to meet their child, which I'm sad about because I love kids.
If you don't know who John is, he was a VH1 VJ for many years, and now he has a Sirius XM show. And
he's also an actor, just for the record. Mm-hmm. Like he was supposed to do some Stalking LeVar, but the scheduling was a little funky, so we couldn't get it. But he's wonderful. I knew he'd be perfect because his whole background about like there's an episode of of This American Life where his story is featured on, and it's like a Valentine's Day episode from a few years ago where they talk about his mother being a former nun and his father being a former Catholic priest and how they ended up married and together. And it's a really beautiful love story. And he's just a very cool, existential, kind of spiritual guy who just, I mean, like my favorite thing that he said, one of my favorite things that he said in the ceremony was, welcome people of all faiths and fandoms. That was like the first thing he said to our group, which was perfect. And, I don't know, he's just a deep human being and a dear friend who has seen me through a lot. a lot of not great stuff and a lot of amazing stuff. And I was happy to introduce you to him.
He was also on Geekscape in 2018. If you Geekscapers go back at the Geekscape, I think his episode was 2018. I sat down in his place in New York and we had a good episode. And he invited me onto his Sirius XM show.
And who set up that meeting for you?
This woman right here, Heidi Cox, who's now Miss Heidi Cox-London. So thank you for that. John was awesome, and he was a fantastic officiant. And I think everything from the rehearsal on was amazing. The rehearsal dinner itself was pretty great. I gave my groomsmen not only the hats and the ties and the cufflinks that they wear that were matching the suits, and everybody has commented on how great the look was on the guys. We couldn't have dressed ourselves like that. That was all Heidi and her look.
I don't know. Zeb probably could have come up with it.
Zeb's maybe
Jesse.
Okay,
those two are pretty stylish guys.
Matt Kelly and I are up the creek on that stuff.
But I loved that blue suit with the waistcoat.
But I said, I'm going to get my groomsmen cufflinks. Heidi had already kind of started that off by getting me Spider-Man cufflinks to wear in the ceremony. So I wore those. I got
you them for Christmas like years ago.
I know, but I think with the goal of like, these are the ones you will wear when he marries me.
I cast a spell on that.
So I had 8 groomsmen and I had to look up their fandoms, maybe ask a little bit, like familiarize myself with some of them and say, hey, like, when it comes to nerd stuff, some of them I get from my running group. Like when it comes to nerd stuff, like what's their nerd thing? Matt Kelly was easy. I found somebody who made Jason Voorhees hockey masks into cufflinks. Andy Rattinger, who I went to grad school with, his favorite movie is Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I said, this is going to be super easy. They've got to have like a coiled up whip, or maybe they have like the hat from Indiana Jones, or a boulder, or something can be a cufflink. There are almost no Indiana Jones cufflinks except the head piece of the Staff of Ra that you see in Raiders. The dude grabs it out of the fire and it burns the emblem onto his hand. I found these cufflinks and they were perfect. So everybody got like really cool, nerdy cufflinks. They also got a trade paperback. So I was getting them things like blankets, which is a crazy trade paperback that I think Andy ended up with. Sorry emotionally for all that trauma you're about to experience reading that one. I think Matt got Essex County by Jeff Lemire. My junior groomsman, who's 9, got Bone by Jeff Smith, which is awesome. Like I gave out tons of really good trade paperbacks to my groomsmen. A really fashionable tie, the hat, so they can match me.
The ties matched the dresses, so we got the ties from the same place that the women ordered the dresses from, and Fawn just matched the color with his really amazing burgundy suit that he's wearing. And Victoria had a light blue. We put the junior bridesmaid and junior groomsmen in like light blue tie, light blue dress. Sorry, I'm like, we found the ties.
If you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, there's a picture right there, and the alternating colors. The ties, you can't really see it, but the ties are alternating as well on the guys.
Yeah. And then for my gifts, I gave them let's see, the ear cuffs, the elven sort of ear cuffs, some pressed flower earrings, because flowers and fairies, and then wings. So their wings were in their hair for the bride's fae. So they had these beautiful little wings that were made in England by a woman on Etsy. And you put them in your hair. They're kind of on like a little clip. They were really gorgeous. And some like the special needs school I used to work at was for, it was a career transition center, and they made, one of the classes made body scrubs and candles. So I gave them one of those. And then for the flower fairies,
the little girls who would normally be your flower girls, they throw out flowers, but not in our wedding.
So they had actual wings. And I just always love bubbles. So like I got them these little like they almost look like, they weren't My Little Pony, but they looked like My Little Pony unicorn bubble makers. Yeah. And they just waved them around. That way they didn't have to worry about blowing the bubbles, and a little flower crown with some butterflies on it. There were a lot of butterflies.
And they all had wings. They all had fairy wings.
They had actual wings on. Yes. And then my wings were in my earrings. I had fairy wing earrings. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and we had custom glassware made for them too, that has like a really cute comic of like thing of our cake topper, which is like Spider-Man hanging upside down, and
it's Spider-Man hanging from a lamppost,
and MJ kissing him. And then I made the graphic so it could say, "Face it, Tiger, we just hit the jackpot."
Yeah,
And
Heidi
then-
looks like Mary Jane. Like that's what that's what you're wearing during our proposal, and I was pretty obsessed about making sure that happened.
So
Listen,
yeah,
I
everybody
was
got one
checking
of
all the
those.
nerd boxes, but yeah, our cake topper is pretty nerdy too. The I had something I was going to say, but
Sorry.
I think no, it wasn't. You weren't interrupted. It just these thoughts. It's been a busy month. My stepmom sent me a picture of Heidi with her flower crown and her beautiful dress, surrounded by these four
It was a video.
fairy girls, and they all are, they're blowing bubbles, and it's just so magical. And my stepmother said, I remember when you were in middle school reading fantasy novels, did you think that this is where it would end up? And I think that's incredible. Like,
the bubbles were great. I just really have always wanted bubbles. If I ever got married, I wanted bubbles, and I thought this will be perfect. And then what else? I mean, like, if you ever want to have kind of a nerdy wedding on a budget, make your centerpieces.
you did. You made these ornate centerpieces that were a wood block with a plate on them with moss and the ladybugs, and everything kind of looked like those little fairy houses that you see sometimes. Like people put little fairy houses in their gardens, and there was a lot of that stuff. Like at the guest book signing or at certain tables, you'd see this mossy little fairy house.
What did our joke? Our joke became
when Heidi was like, hey, we were looking for things to finish out the wedding, and maybe things weren't exactly right. I was like, that's not really the plate or the table we're looking for, but there's like 2 weeks left. Just put some moss on it.
Just cover it in
moss.
Let's
just put some moss on it. The solution for making everything kind of on brand was just throw some moss on it.
It'll eventually like dry and crumble, but I mean, it's a reindeer moss that you can get at any craft store, and it lasts quite a while.
Everything looked Rivendell.
It was like a little wood slice with bark still on it, and then you put I had a glass. I think you guys probably saw like our video of us making it when we had COVID, because we were like, we should make more of these. And I glued moss to these glass plates, and then we bought mason jars, and I made little terrariums. They had these jewel tone butterflies and baby's breath flowers and fairy lights, a must, right? And then you turn them on and they light up, and they're so beautiful, and people got to take them home. And then
we gave them away, these little jars with the looked like fireflies in them.
Yeah, well, they're called fairy lights, but yeah. So, and then like I covered all kinds of stuff in moss. We had like a sign that said Fairy Crossing. It didn't get placed where I wanted it to. I don't know if anyone saw it, but that wasn't your fault.
There was a lot of people walking into where we were getting dressed instead of going to the ceremony area.
That's weird.
And I realized that the signs were not being put where they needed to be put. But it's everybody got where they needed to go.
I covered all the signs of moss too. Like it was just put some moss. But like also once again back to Stephanie, she had this amazing idea because we're not allowed to put stakes in the ground there because I guess it's like a LA park thing. So she said, excuse me. So she said, well, why don't you take some plaster of Paris? And I was like, what's that? But she's like, plaster of Paris, put it in a little bucket and put it on a dowel rod and then just let it dry. And then you put the sign on there. And that's what we did. And it worked perfect. It was so great. And I had a fairy crossing sign and a no admittance except on party business sign. And, we glued some moss and some butterflies to that, and there were butterflies in my bouquet, butterflies in my flower crown.
Literally, we're talking about an 8-9 month process of Heidi in our living room making arts and crafts all the time to make. She's burning herself with glue guns and things like that,
with the hot glue gun.
just to try and make all the stuff that was the decor of our wedding.
And we saved money.
We saved a ton of money.
Yeah, we saved a lot of money.
But she started in January doing this.
And then
it took up half of our living space.
And your stepmother and I had the best time figuring out centerpieces for the rehearsal dinner, which were flowers made of comic books.
No comic books were harmed in the making of those centerpieces.
Just like no fairies were harmed in the making of the hair pieces or the earrings.
Yeah, Matt Kelly said, I loved the rehearsal dinner decor as well. And basically the centerpieces were these comic book flowers, and they were put in a little jar, and then there were 6 tables with people, and I got 6 Marvel comic characters.
This was like a last minute idea too, right?
Yeah, it was like instead of numbering the tables, let's name the tables after like Spider-Man, Daredevil, Doctor Doom, and then on your nameplate, your little name place card, it says which comic book character is. So you
And
just
like a speech bubble.
right, in a comic book speech bubble. It says
Yeah.
your name, and then it says like Daredevil. So you know you're going to go sit at the Daredevil table. You just have to figure out who Daredevil is. So
it was like a natural sort of organic way of deciding all that stuff too, because it was funny. Like when Alice and I were working on it, we ordered all the flowers, and they came out cool. And then she found these like hearts made of the same like comic book hearts, and then I got these really colorful vases, and then I was like, ooh, what if we don't do table numbers? What if we do characters?
Mhm.
And then I thought, what if we use some of your action figures? And not the really nice ones, but he's got a couple of like itty bitty ones that are like whatever. And then he was like, yeah, but then there's
none of them are whatever.
But they were like, whatever. That's a joke. There are a couple that, and he was like, no, but there's gonna be, because we do have a lot of kids in our wedding and stuff. And I thought, we both thought, oh, the kids might want to grab them, and that could be hard. So then
I ain't let go of my comic book.
So then I started making the place. Then I started making the place cards, and I was like, well, but I didn't want to do the calligraphy. I was just so tired. It was so close to the day, and I thought, well, we should do it in comic writing anyway. And then so I started cutting them out, and I was like, oh, it's easier to cut it out in like a speech bubble than it is to like make it a perfect like square or circle or something. So then
the name cards had comic book speech bubbles on them.
Then I gave him and I gave him a job of like circling, like outlining the speech bubble. So it all was like super organic. It was cool.
Fun though.
Yeah.
Matt Kelly says, don't skip the table for Medusa, really testing people's knowledge. Medusa is the queen of the Inhumans. Y'all watched Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. You saw the king of the Inhumans, Black Bolt. Medusa's his wife. Like, I was gonna do Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, but I didn't find a piece of artwork that I really liked. I was trying to keep things retro, Jack Kirby-ish.
That's cool.
And
yeah, so I left it up to you.
Found a really cool picture of Medusa, Queen of the Inhumans, who hopefully will end up on screen. And I mean, she was in the Inhumans TV show on ABC, but no, it wasn't very good. But it'll happen. What I love too was all the Geekscapists and all the people who came into town to celebrate with us. We had some people from our run group. We had people from the filmmaking. We had people from the geek world.
And they all got to meet.
And they all got to hang out. Big Yanks was a big part of our Wednesday. He came in and he wanted to go to Disneyland, but it was a blackout date. And so we ended up taking him in and out and then picking up Matt Kelly. And we all went to get our suits together. And Big Yank says, I loved In-N-Out Animal Fries. Big Yank started our weekend on that Wednesday, and then he ended that weekend when on Saturday we went to Universal Studios and Big Yanks was there.
Yeah, we took my family there thanks to my friend Derek, who y'all probably know him if you go to the Renaissance Fair.
You just have to sit up straight.
If you go to the Renaissance Fair in Irwindale, he's usually dressed as Gandalf. He's like the most
he looks like Gandalf.
He's always Gandalf there, and I've, like all of these people that are friends of mine that don't know him, I'll see them in pictures with him. So my friend Derek, he works at Universal, and he got us admission to Universal, and I was able to take my family, and Yanks went too, and that was cool. Plus, it was just really cool to have my family here because they don't get to come that much, and people really seem to like them, and they liked my mom.
And I have a niece and nephew now.
You do?
I have a niece and nephew now.
And they like thrived. They loved it here. My niece can get very anxious sometimes. She's 15, and she was nervous when she found out we put her at a table with our friends, as opposed to with my parents, my mom and my stepdad.
We threw her into the deep end of the pool.
But on Friday after the wedding, she looked at me and she goes, "I feel comfortable with everyone. I love it here. I want to come back." And I was so that meant so much to me.
Okay, Heidi, I need to ask you your opinion. Mm-hmm. Geekiest table at our wedding, and here are some options, please. Okay, you're gonna have to vote on it. Okay, you're the only vote that counts for the rest of my life. You're the only vote that counts. But here are the options. I'm gonna give you 3 for nerdiest table. First one's pretty obvious. It's the Geekscape table that comprises of our own Katie Alcesser. Oh, Hampton, she's gonna get married. Her fiance Mark. We had Josh Jackson of Geekscape Games and his wife Megan. Mm-hmm. We had Matt Kelly wasn't at that one. He was at the wedding party table. So Matt Kelly wasn't there. But it did have Shane and Derek there and Big Yanks. Okay, so there's that. That's the Geekscape table. We also had a table comprised of Diallo Jackson, who's been on the show, Jason Inman and his wife, Ashley Robinson, Ian Kerner and his wife, Stephanie, And Jonathan and Holly Root. Jonathan performed at the Geekscape Live, and he should be back on the show anytime because
You
Jonathan's
gotta have
awesome.
him on.
That's
I've
a
known
pretty
him-
nerdy table there.
I've known him since college.
And now your
he-
third vote. This is the third
He's
table that's
very
pretty
nerdy.
nerdy.
Yeah.
Any table that had Casper Van Dien in it.
I can't remember where they were sitting. They were kind of
To hard left.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the one with Ian and Jason and Ashley, and that's probably, I don't know though. That's
Yeah,
hard.
that's pretty nerdy over
but-
there.
Whatever.
Every table is a nerdy table for the most part at our
the
wedding.
table with John Nash, he's pretty nerdy too.
And you had you had Cosmo at the table.
Yeah, Cosmo.
There were a lot of
Chrissy
nerd tables.
Lynn. Yeah.
Matt Kelly says, you know what? I think that the geek history lesson combo of Jason and Ashley plus Ian alone outgeeks the entire Geekscape table. And you know what? It also has more social, aptitude too.
Oh, I have a question for Matt. Matt, did you have a good birthday?
Matt, did you have a good birthday?
That was
on
his
your wedding?
birthday. Was the day of our wedding.
Matt didn't know that we did this, but not only did we order a wedding cake in a much bigger sheet cake to serve when the wedding cake was gone, but I ordered a third cake because we got married on October 14th, and it's also our very own Matt Kelly's birthday, and he was spending it away from family, but with family, with us.
I know.
And so we
yeah.
surprised Matt in the middle of the toasts, in the middle of getting ready to eat dinner and celebrating the wedding. I said, hey, we'll clink some glasses if I can get everybody's attention. Here's a cake. It's covered in Disney stuff, and it says Feliz Cumpleaños.
Oh yeah, we
Matt,
sang that.
and we sang Feliz Cumpleaños to Matt. And
he
Matt,
says
it was happy birthday. He said
he answered
in
us.
the comments, he says, dude, the cake was amazing and a beautiful surprise party. The question is, when is the real wedding? Because that was all for Matt's birthday.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I don't know. Every day for the rest of my life.
It was really fun though. Well, we have to bring up Christina and her amazing choreography.
Oh, I didn't drop you the 3 times that I could.
Yeah,
have
he
dropped you
lifted me and
dance.
like we had a very specific choreographed piece.
Was I nervous about the wedding itself and my vows and the ceremony? No, absolutely not. I was cool as a cucumber. And not necessarily because I kept drawing my brow because it was hot. We were in sunlight.
But I loved what you were using to draw your brow with too. It was my grandfather's handkerchief that I asked him to carry with him because I was very close to my grandfather and I have a stack of his handkerchiefs. So I tied one around my bouquet and I gave one to Jonathan. And so when you pulled it out to wipe your brow, I was like, Granddaddy.
But the part I was most nervous about all weekend, like, do not screw this up, was there are like 3 lifts and turns in our dance where I pick you up. There's one where I just pick you straight up, like like I'm the rocks and you're the little mermaid.
Yeah.
Can't drop you there.
Oh, that's true.
And then there's 2 where you like spit into me. I scoop you.
Yeah.
And we
you
spin
did great.
like Patrick Swayze style. If you can just close, if you're listening
amazing.
to this, imagine Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing and how ripped he is and how he's awesome at dancing. Yeah, never mind. It was nothing like that, but it was close. No, it wasn't even close. Zoe Bailey, who enjoyed their time, said a sheet cake. Now it makes sense. I thought your wedding cake had TARDIS properties. No, we had
that.
Well, we had a proper wedding cake. That was
we
tiered,
did. We had a 2-tiered wedding cake.
That wasn't going to last for everybody.
With flowers on it, and
cake kept coming.
Oh, TARDIS, like bigger on the inside.
Right, bigger on the inside.
That took me a second.
So what happened was, and this is something that when you're planning a wedding, definitely do this. Like, get a smaller wedding cake for the photos because those are super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Get those, and then just have like a really nice sheet cake that you're going to serve to the majority of the guests. Make them the same cake so nobody feels like they're being second tiered.
But you didn't.
I know. Them different. One was red.
I asked him if he wanted to do red velvet for the sheet cake, and he was like, "No, let's do white."
Because when I went to Vallarta, I started talking to the lady in Spanish, and she said, "Hey, no, tú quieres ir con este?" And she started talking me towards the vanilla cake. And also, I texted Matt. Now, listen to this trickery, Matt. I texted you and said, "Hey, vanilla cake for the wedding or chocolate?" And really what I was trying to do was decide which cake Matt was going to get for his birthday. And that's how it is. Matt also says, speaking of surprises, you know what? Speaking of birthdays, not just today, the recording of this on the 18th of October, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme's birthday. Just pausing to say that. All praise. Anyway, Matt Kelly said vanilla. Derek Crenevalt says, to Matt, chocolate is too spicy. But Matt says, I've been listening to In Excesses Don't Change a lot after the wedding too. That's a song that Heidi and I connected on. In Excesses Don't Change.
Derek was actually there the moment that we connected on it.
Yeah, Derek Crandall was.
Yeah, you played it for me.
And anyway, you played it right as a surprise. So we told each other no secrets.
We didn't say that.
We said no gifts. No gifts.
No presents.
And you kept secrets. You surprised me with a musical rendition of "Don't Change" on the ukulele.
Yeah, and then the instrument was having trouble. It kind of started losing its tune in the weather, and I can perform on stage just about any time and sing just fine. But gosh, when you perform at your own wedding reception, holy cow, it just like completely. It was. I know. I'm being hard on myself.
You're being hard on yourself. I was in the clear. I didn't drop you 3 times during our dance, so I was aces for the rest of the wedding. I wanted
it to be perfect. I'm so happy that you were surprised and you loved it, but I wanted it to be perfect, like in tune and like no shaking. And
to me, it was perfect.
Thank you.
Because I'm tone deaf. No, because it was beautiful, also, and you melted so many. You melted all the hearts. It was beautiful, sweetie.
But also, we're in LA. I mean, there might be people who want to put me in their movies, and if they think I can't sing, you know what I mean? Like,
then they won't be musicals. They'll be horror films.
But I want to be in musicals.
They'll be musical horror films.
Seriously though, I really just wanted to surprise you, and I wanted it to be perfect, and I'm glad that it made you happy.
Someone who does want to put you in a movie and has put you in a movie, you're going to film in November, says congratulations. That's filmmaker Brett Levner there in Las Vegas. She was on Geekscape a few months ago and then said, hey, I want to put Heidi in this movie. And now
I'm going to go see her next month, and I got my flight booked. I'm ready to go. I'm like, let's do it. I'm very excited.
Jim Paganelli says "Don't Change" is also my favorite song from the soundtrack of Adventureland with Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart. Greg Motola's film Adventureland. I like that film. I love that song. It's pretty great. And Zoe Bailey's back, and she says it sounded wonderful. Truly.
Thank you, Zoe.
Zoe's fantastic. She was a big part of the wedding because her husband Herschel Bailey was our DJ.
Pretty much. He was amazing.
He was all of it. Not only that, not only like the dance music, but the music in the ceremony.
Ceremony music.
All of it.
Sound mixing.
He was so good that our very own, also professional DJ, Shane O'Hare, walked over to him when he was eating or dancing and was like, hey, they let you take a break? And I was like, yeah, he's one of my closest friends. Herschel had to explain to him, yeah, I'm one of their closest friends. I'm not just a DJ.
He did this amazing premix for us, actually. And he he monitored it a bit, but like mostly he's just so great at that he was able to. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry, Matt Kelly can't help himself. He said that the Goo Goo Dolls did a great cover of "Don't Change" for the Ace Ventura When Nature Calls soundtrack, and that he hates having these pointless facts bouncing around in his brain.
I can't go with any other cover.
I love
the one I played, but I don't think it was.
I love the Bruce Springsteen cover. Nothing touches the NXS cover, but I'm now going to go look up that Goo Goo Dolls cover because the last time I saw Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls was in the theater on opening night watching Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls, and I did not look back.
I'm a Michael Hutchence purist. They're one of my favorite bands. I love them.
Matt Kelly says, wait, hold on. There's something doesn't track. You mean Shane did something socially awkward and weird? He is the most well-adjusted Geekscapeist. How dare you?
I want to say hi.
Okay. So Lauren Selman says, you two are perfect in every way.
I'm blowing you kisses, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan's pushing. I'm
trying to get you set up at least in my level.
Don't change, remember?
No, I just...
Don't change.
Don't slump. I'm worried that this lower third right here is going to cover your chin when I do this.
What?
Boom.
No, I'm good.
See how high it goes? Yeah, that's what I worry about. That's
that?
No, now you're too
I'm like, I'm lowering my face and looking from side to side.
Please sit up straight, Heidi. Welcome to Geekscape.
Suddenly he's like my parent.
Yeah. No, I'm not your parent. But I'm your dad. No, I'm not gonna make that joke. No.
Nope.
Raymond Russell says, well-adjusted Geekscape. That's a pretty low bar. You know what? Shane will take it.
What song would I sing?
And Lauren Selman says, what song would you sing to Heidi?
Oh.
Yeah, trivia question. Yeah, really, like, damn, what song would I
You
sing
sang
to
me
you?
a song once during
I make
karaoke.
I make songs up for you all the freaking
You
time.
should do it now.
I will. I feel inspired. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more of a conduit than a singer. Like when the inspiration hits, I
So
just kind of, you know what I'm saying?
If I try to turn on my recorder, he immediately stops too.
Yeah, I know. I break into really stupid Adam Sandler style songs all the time, inspired by things like maybe what we're cooking for dinner, or where the hell's the remote, or I found your sock in the bathroom again. Don't worry, I put it in the dirty laundry.
Or like 90s style, like R&B, like
oh yeah, my seduction technique is nothing if not hilarious.
Really
probably also flailing, but hilarious. And those usually end up as songs. And you know what? As far as Don't Change goes, Lauren Selman kicks back with Just Change Your Underwear. Okay, Jonathan?
Yeah, don't change, just your underwear.
Big Yank says, those centerpieces were beautiful. I brought one to New York along with 20 tacos from Jack in the Box. His in-laws demanded that he brings back Jack in the Box. And you know what?
Did you really bring a centerpiece back? Though?
Yeah, he brought back one of our centerpieces.
I'm so glad it survived the flight. That makes me happy because they're glass. Like
Matt's glass cracked. We're gonna get Matt a new glass.
How? We don't have any more.
I'll order one. I don't know.
Ordering
I'll etch it in the minds of Moria. I don't know. Camille says, sing Peer Pressure, also my show. I will not be singing.
Oh, I thought it was for me. Okay.
Neela says, I second the peer pressure. No, I will not be singing.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
You can't trick me. I will not be singing. I'm sorry. You see, that was more Dr. Seuss than singing. Oh no, don't play them.
There's one that I saved a long time ago. It's pretty funny. No. Long time ago. That I managed to like turn on my recorder without him knowing. And I caught some. It was really funny.
Like you hold secrets in this marriage. How is this going to work?
I played it for you. It's very funny.
So gorgeous.
My voice was shot the other day. It's still shot.
We can't just be talking about like wedding stuff this whole time. Although Tyrone Tan says, congratulations to you both. May you both be abundantly blessed with your years of great happiness, protection, health, and prosperity. Protection sounds like a spell.
Hey, I'll take it. But babe, we're talking about how to have like kind of a nerdy inspired
DIY wedding.
Go ahead.
That's what go for it.
We're talking about how to have that kind of wedding on a budget. The other thing is get a taco person because holy cow, she was awesome. And for our cocktail hour, we had chips and salsa, which was also not that expensive. It's not like some charcuterie board or anything, right?
It's very Southern California to have chips and salsa and then a taco lady come and make tacos for everybody.
Yeah, and like you're like, you know.
Oh, my people. Oh, that's what you're going. Oh, my people.
Well, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, only half Mexican, but yeah, I guess it tracks.
You wouldn't let me.
Tacos only half a sandwich.
He didn't like any of the. What was it? He didn't like any
white people food.
No, that's not what he said. You didn't like any of the Mexican traditions I looked up for the ceremony. So it was kind of nice that we found a taco person. It was so yummy too. It was way more exciting than the food we had originally thought we were going to have.
Yeah, Matt Kelly says the rice was insanely good. I went back to try to get seconds. That container was scraped clean.
Matt and his beige food.
Matt loves beige food. I looked over during the rehearsal dinner. And the salad was still sitting there from Matt. Matt was piecing together. He's like,
that's right. He did not touch his salad.
We know this about Matt. Matt is like, I will take bread and mayo, hold the meat and the lettuce and can I just get mayo on bread, please?
With some milk.
With some milk. Can I have milk, bread, and mayo for my lunch, please? Matt is pretty particular. That's what he likes. Let's see where that question went. Lauren says, does Jonathan have a flower crown too? I don't. I had a Newsies hat.
This isn't even the one that I wore in the wedding. This is one from my bachelorette that once again, Stephanie Pressman made for me. She was she was an amazing Fae of Honor, and so was Megan. They were wonderful. Why is Big Yank saying
ay Dios mío?
Why? Because I said about the Mexican traditions in the ceremony?
Maybe. I mean, ultimately, let's just face it. Heidi did want to put some traditions into the wedding because my mother is from Guadalajara. My mother is Mexican. She wanted my mother to feel comfortable. That's her new mother-in-law. I love my mom. My mom was pretty much not by herself at the wedding, but my brother and her were pretty much they were at the wedding, and my stepdad didn't come, and I didn't want my mom to feel out of place. But Matt got his cake. It was Mexican cake.
That's true. We had a barata cake and we had a Porto's cake.
We had tacos at the wedding. It had some Mexican style in it. We used some Mexican banner flags. But like when it comes to like the money dance, researching some of these Mexican traditions for like weddings, like
I didn't want to do that.
Like, what's the money dance? Because we definitely from the get-go we were like, we're not doing a garter toss because that's icky. We're not doing what are some of the bouquet toss?
I did it too.
The bouquet was awesome. You wanted to hold on to it.
No, that wasn't the reason why. I think it's outdated.
Okay,
it's like whoever catches is the next woman to get married. But why? Like
Matt Kelly could have caught it.
No, but it's just sort of misogynistic, and then the garter's a little creepy, and
garter's totally creepy.
And then what were we saying? I forgot.
So we're looking up all these different things that we want to maybe involve or not involve.
Oh, Celtic. Well, I was using Celtic stuff in the ceremony because of my side of the family being like, super Anglo white, like all British Isles.
We didn't serve potatoes.
We did not. We did not serve potatoes. No.
But there were potatoes at the rehearsal dinner. So we started looking up more things that were Mexican traditions at weddings. And there's the money dance. And the money dance, how do you describe the money dance? Because we nixed it really fast.
Well, we barely even had time to do any dancing anyway, because we like the caterer, there was a little bit of a mishap with the schedule, and the caterer came later than we thought she was coming. And there's my mom going. But anyway, so the money dance is when I think people pay you money. I think in the past it was like they'd pin money to you so they could dance with you. I mean, my dress was made by Claire Pettibone. I wasn't gonna have a that. She's a couture designer, and it's
called fashion. Ever heard of it?
No. But she's a couture designer, and I managed to get my dress on sample sale, and it was just like one of my favorite dresses that she's ever made. And
not pinning a bunch of dollars.
But then some people do like Venmo links and stuff, but it just felt weird to me, and I felt like most of as my mother says, can I click on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Scotch Irish. That's my mom.
Yeah.
As my Scotch Irish side of my family, they're not going to understand what the money dance is. They're going to be like, what is this? Nobody's going to bring cash to like do the money.
I also didn't want to feel like we were begging our guests for money. Like, this isn't a GoFundMe. This isn't a GoFundMe. Like, this is just we set up a gift registry, and that's it. Like that, a gift registry. It was
a honey fund.
A honey fund.
Because we're old and we don't need pots and pans.
I don't need pots and pans. We don't need anything. Our apartment's half full of wedding stuff anyway. Let's just go to Thailand and let's have a great honeymoon.
See some elephants.
Yeah, I want a monkey to steal my hat. Matt Kelly actually says, you know what? I don't think we did that bad, because he says the most awkward wedding I attended, I was the only single person, and the groom just awkwardly handed me the garter.
Oh, you loved that. Come on.
Very
that wasn't
glad
awkward.
That you scrapped it. Well, if there's
You're
others.
Probably like, yes.
No, Heidi, if there's other single people, then there's, possibilities. But as the only single person, getting the garter just kind of feels like you're called out.
So did no one catch the bouquet because you were the only single person? Like there weren't any single women? I mean, not that it shouldn't even be that way. Really, like a guy could catch the bouquet. That's
Camille
fine.
DeMar says, you know what? Cajuns do the money dance too. Glad my sister forewent that particular tradition. But Cajuns, they have to pin money to a alligator down there in the swamps. I'm kidding. I'm just being stupid. Facebook user says,
whoever you are,
you guys didn't do the chicken dance with a line of people handing you envelopes? I asked this as an East Coast Catholic.
I like the chicken dance, but I've never heard of that tradition.
Big Yanks would have pinned money onto John. You feel free to have done that during Universal. And Lauren Solomon says, listen, the money dance, the dollar dance, and the apron dance is an event at some wedding receptions on various cultures. During a money dance, male guests pay to dance briefly with the bride, and sometimes female guests pay to dance with the groom. You know what?
I got to dance with my mom. I didn't get to dance with my stepdad, which kind of made me sad. I almost did. And then you were like, wait, I'm here. And so
Nilu says, listen, my Persian people just bring bricks of 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s and then throw them up in the air as the bride and groom are dancing. And then she says, we do the knife dance.
Or the fire dance.
Yo, that's some straight up Prince of Persia fucking saber shit. That's crazy.
Oh, no.
That's intense.
Everyone's saying to go to Chiang Mai in Thailand.
Matt Kelly says, my dad's high school best friend was the only single woman. And that's like, what, a 30-year age gap? go for it.
Okay. Well,
Wizard of Video Games over on Twitch says, was a Star Trek Betazoid wedding considered? Can you explain to me what that is?
So in
what's
a
a Betazoid
in a
wedding?
Betazoid wedding, no one the clothing is completely foregone. No one wears clothes in a Betazoid wedding. So
Why are you telling me
I
this
really
now?
wanted to wear a dress because
Okay.
I think dresses are pretty.
Okay.
So no, I didn't want to have a naked wedding. Plus, we'd have to go somewhere in Palm Spring where there's like a nudist area, or that town in France that our friend Dove took his wife to. That's like totally nude.
I don't even like showing my bald spot. I'm not going around naked.
Well,
Right?
do you want to tell them why we came up with the hats?
Well, I just don't like having the little sunroof that I've grown on top of my head. So I got like a Newsies hat, which I liked, and that's what your grandfather used to wear.
Yeah, that's how I tried for years to get Jonathan to try on one of these.
You're sinking in the frame. As a director, it's driving me crazy because you're
like he's my
so
mom being
anyway,
like, sit up straight.
I'm not. I'm more
We're
like
having our first fight as a married
chiropractor.
couple.
Heidi, over the course of the show, has just been like, oh, it's just a casual podcast. It's audio. I can lean down here, and then the frame can be like, no, sweetie, please.
For years, I've been trying to get you to try one of those hats, and you wouldn't do it, and you wouldn't do it. And even like, I would say a week before you actually tried one on, you yelled at me and said you didn't want to do it. And then
it has to be
screamed at me. So
Heidi, you have to trick me into doing this.
And finally, I was like, just try this. And it was this really beautiful, like tweed gray hat that my grandfather used to wear all the time. It was wool, and he tried it on and he liked it. And so when he was being hard on himself about his hair, I was like, well, I mean, it would look really cute if you got one of those hats, like a flat cap or a Carnaby cap, to match the same color as the brown shoes. And you could give those also as gifts to your groomsmen. And then thus it was born. And then everyone's like, those hats look so cool. We love those hats.
My dad came up to me, a ton of my friends came up to me and said, we want hats like the ones you're wearing in your wedding. And so we're just going to start a whole like Newsies group or Pinky Blinders. And we're just going to start a gang of ruffians. But yeah, the hats ended up being like super stylish and super popular. Yeah. And maybe we should get Geekscape hats made with that style.
I would love that. All thanks to Dr. Henry E. Vogel, my grandfather, who was a physicist.
It was really nice. Super, super nice. Raymond Russell has some Thailand advice for us. He says, Elephant Nature Park, amazing elephant rescue. And I think that's why we started deciding to go to Thailand for our honeymoon you could see elephants.
I love elephants. And I've just heard Thailand's amazing.
It's in Chiang Mai.
We're not going to Chiang Mai, though. I'm sorry.
Oh,
we're going to Phuket.
The elephants come to us.
But we do have extra days there where we're not doing anything. So, and Chiang Mai is north, though. But apparently we could fly up there if we wanted to.
All right. Bolt T wants to know, were there any X-Men character tables? No, let me tell you the tables. Right? We only had 6 tables. Oh. I was thinking Rogue. I wanted to have a couple. I wanted to have Black Panther, Spider-Man because he's my number 1, Daredevil because he's my number 2, and also my parents are lawyers. I wanted to put them at the Daredevil table. So it was Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Panther. Had to have a female representation there, which ended up going to Medusa, but could have very easily been Rogue from the X-Men.
Or you could have had more than one.
I wanted to also go with Kirby drawings. So I wanted to have King Kirby represented. So Rogue is like an 80s character, and Jack Kirby didn't draw Rogue. So the other characters were Dr. Doom, because he's awesome, and you have to have him. And we also, wait, hold on. Let me see. We got Dr. Doom, Medusa, Black Panther, that's 3, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and who am I missing?
I don't remember. I was just going to tell them about
Please do.
We also set up since there were a lot of children in our wedding party and stuff, we set up a table with things to color. And for the rehearsal dinner, I printed out pages of superheroes, and one of mine was Professor X. So there's your X-Men character. With I don't know, we did some Wonder Woman, and then I did Wonder Woman, a couple of female superheroes. Obviously, I think I printed out Spider-Man.
Wasn't Thor?
You did have Thor, though.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh, then it was
You
Thor.
had Thor.
Okay,
I
it's
remember
Thor.
because I cut them out.
It was
But
Thor.
the coloring pages were also, there were some superheroes, and I also printed out fairies and, you know, the kid, and then some blank paper and the little kids. That was so perfect too. If you have kids at a wedding, have stuff for them to do, like color.
Matt Kelly says he's worn his Newsies hat regularly since coming back.
It's nice, right? It's really good for like fall and winter too.
Yeah, and your
And
mom
I
says
know
they're
this.
back in style now too.
They
Well,
never were not in
thanks
style.
to this lady making me wear it, we brought it back. Raymond Russell says, "Don't ride the elephants." By the way, in case you hadn't heard, I'm not riding a freaking elephant.
We're going to one that doesn't even let you like bathe them or anything. You kind of walk along with them and you meet them, but you don't really. I don't even think you touch them, which kind of makes me sad. But if it's better for them, that makes me happy.
Okay, so Zoe Bailey now kicks in and says, "You know what? The hats ended up being kind of unfortunate during the reception because all of the groomsmen were wearing the hats with the navy suit, with the suits and matching suits. I definitely recall Heidi looking for you for a particular song, and she kept following the wrong people around because it was like I had like I'm the president and I have a bunch of decoys walking around so that they don't know who to assassinate."
Yeah, he disappeared a lot. I was like, "Where are you?"
I was playing mayor. I was entertaining my guests. I was like, "Hello, are you having a good time?"
That's what I call him, the mayor.
Don't let Ian overtalk to you about comic books. Yeah, that kind of thing. It was fun.
Oh, was it Black Panther?
I said Black Panther.
Oh, you did. Okay, yeah, it was Thor. I'm pretty sure it was Thor. I'll double check. We can look.
Yeah, we got Black Panther, Medusa, Doctor Doom, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Thor.
But anyway, this is your stream of consciousness, like instructions on how to have a nerdy-ish Enchanted Forest wedding on a budget.
We did it. We had a nerdy DIY Enchanted Forest Ewok Village wedding on a budget.
And our friend Darcy, who owns Shutterbox LA, she did. Okay, so here's another good thing about like because favors and stuff. We gotta.
No, go for it.
Because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, do we need to give favors?" People don't always take favors home. Sometimes people don't want them. But then, if you have a photo booth with printouts, those are the favors because everybody wants to take a photo home of themselves, right? I'm not gonna sit up straight, and I'm very tired.
What happened?
What do you mean?
Well, we there's more about the photo booth picture. It was like we found an Enchanted Forest theme and had a beautiful moon on it, and then you wanted to make an adjustment to the picture.
Yeah, so we found the border is like this digital border for the printout. So the photo is in.
You've seen a photo
the digital
booth.
border.
Yeah.
And it was like an enchanted forest with a tree and the moon and the sky, and we were like,
it needs a little something extra.
Here's a picture of Falcor. Do you think you could? You think you could just put him in the sky in the background? So we did.
Yeah, we added Falcor to the border of our Instapics there.
So
Lauren Summon says, "How did you feel the day after your wedding? Did you feel excited, nostalgic?" I'm always curious about the day after.
I felt very tired, and then we were at Universal with my family, so it was still just like, this is weird. He's my husband. I've never had one of those before.
Yeah, I was calling you my wife long before the wedding.
You were calling me.
I was getting myself prepped. I'd wake up in the morning for the last year and be like, "Hello, wife," and she's like, "No, you're not. No, keep it up. You never be." Let's see. Yanks has not met a photo booth he doesn't love. Yeah, Big Yanks was in a lot of those photo booth photos, and Big Yanks says, no. Matt kept dragging me to the photo booths. Listen, the Geekscapers are fighting amongst themselves in the comments here. Basically, I just wanted to do an episode with Heidi, introducing you to Miss Heidi Cox-London. Yes. And I don't know. I guess
keeping my middle name.
Go for
Michelle.
Go for
Heidi
it.
Michelle.
I'll accept you.
Cox-London.
Any way you are. But I wanted to do an episode talking about our geeky wedding, and
I'm still
celebrating.
I can feel myself. I'm like hoarse. I'm still hoarse from everything. My voice does not it doesn't hold up anymore.
We did a lot of talking to a lot of people from Wednesday on.
Oh, and I had some adult beverages that also they're kind of acidic, so I'm sure that didn't help. So
the good thing is It's behind us and we're married.
We're married.
We have some incredible memories. A lot of y'all were a part of it.
A lot of cake, a lot of chips.
We still have a lot of cake and a lot of chips. So
But no
party at the
salsa.
Londons. Bring the guacamole.
Oh yeah, we're out of that.
Yeah, it was great, and it was really.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You know what? It wasn't that it was geeky. It was that it was us.
Yeah, it was. That's what most people say. And my mother was even saying, because like years ago, before I moved here, like gosh, I don't know, 18 years ago, before I moved here, I was engaged to this guy. I was really young, and she made a point. She was like, yeah, like if you got married when you were young, it wouldn't have been as much about like who you were. And you, now that you've gotten married, now you didn't marry him. I can't, obviously, right? I cannot talk right now. My head is still kind of, but it's just that like I know myself more. I know what I want more. I think back then it was more like princess, you know, and now it's like, I don't know. I just like that. It felt like I was creating like a production.
No, you can fall into the kind of mode that I was in when I first got married. Was like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean it was just, but didn't it kind of feel like you were setting up like a film shoot or something? That's what
the actual production of it. Yeah, it feels like a production. It's fantastic. It's like you're putting on a show.
And that's the way our officiant described it to us. And like we want you. I want you to give me a call sheet, a breakdown of what scenes we have, and
what are the things that are important to you. What are the important beats that we want to hit?
Yeah, and I was so worried because he asked so many questions. I thought, oh gosh, am I going to need to come up with?
Are we falling short on what he needs?
He did perfect, and he quoted all these amazing, like philosophies and spiritual. It was very cool.
Well, Bolt T says, "Did you film the wedding?" We didn't. We got some videographers, and I recorded the wedding on audio. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can maybe put John's opening remarks at the end of this episode.
Sure.
Okay, so if you're watching this on
Our
YouTube,
vows are nice too.
Facebook, or on Twitch, you're not going to hear the episode. But I don't want to put on our vows quite yet. Maybe we play our vows out a little bit, maybe a future episode.
Okay.
But I'll put John's opening remarks on this one, and
we're like timing out, huh?
That's just I would just like try to keep my episodes to a little over an hour at most. Yeah. But
I liked, he used this really cool barn metaphor of a barn I photographed in his vows. And then
yes, I did not have geeky vows, it turns out. I just wrote vows. I sat in a McDonald's late at night and I said, okay, like, what do you want to say, dog? And I took a pen to paper, and it's the same paper that I used at the altar. I just wrote about stream of consciousness almost, but I've been thinking about them for a month or so, and like, hey, like, what does this mean? Like, what do you actually want to promise this person? And then it just kind of flowed out of me.
I think what really struck me, and I don't know if it was true for you, but like when I sat down to actually write my vows, I was like, what am I going to write? And once I started writing, it was super easy because I knew exactly what I wanted to say to you. And the big one like he used this really cool barn metaphor, and I just wanted to really emphasize the fact that love is a verb as well as a noun. And that you have to actually show loving behavior as well as feel love for someone. And that was one of the more important things I've learned so far in my life.
So, well, you do it so much.
Well, I verb you very much.
Geekscape is going to let you go so that you can be like, whoa, that was a bunch of sweetness. No, maybe
yeah, you can go vomit now.
But I love you, and thank you for listening to this. And Geekscape is, you want to hear the opening remarks from John, I'll put them at the end of this episode. You can find them on the podcast feed. If you enjoy the podcast, share it with your friends. 5 stars, the podcast, all that podcast stuff. There's more coming soon. Ian and I are going to brave Black Adam. I'm going to a film festival tomorrow for a week, and then when I come back, I'm going to watch Black Adam and then sit down with Ian and talk about The Rock in Black Adam. Sure, that movie is going to be awesome, and that'll be the next thing on the feed is us talking Black Adam. Della Common said on YouTube, and this is a deep cut from before Geekscape, back from the Geek Drum days. And I will tell you, Dan Trachtenberg reached out on Twitter and said, "You look so happy." And I said, "Thanks, dude. I am happy."
That's very sweet.
It was very sweet. Della comment says, "So you're telling me after the I do's, you didn't just scream out, 'Back to comics'?" No, that's a post-coital cry only. Okay.
Don't say that.
Okay. All right. I don't actually say that. Like, listen, it's always time to go back to comics. It's always time to read comics.
Comics are fine. I have no problem with comics.
Yeah. All right, Geekscapists. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks for having me
listening, and all that. I love you.
I love you too.
You're my wife.
I verb you.
I verb you back.
Yay!
Bye, Geekscapists. They're like, that's a lot. Supposed to be a nerd. I want to hear about nerd stuff.
Or believe in love. You like believing in love.
Do you believe in love?
There he sang. He did it.
Ta-da!
There you go.